What's going on, guys? It's Alex at the Sypnotix. POCO sent us the POCO X3 Pro, which is essentially their flagship phone for this budget brand, and we are going to unbox this phone right now. So the unboxing experience is very similar to what other POCO phones are like. This is the 6GB RAM, 123GB ROM model in the Phantom Black color. So once again, thank you, POCO, for sending us this phone to review. So flagship killing is a mantra that this company has really followed, as their history has suggested. They've branched off to making budget phones now, but when the POCO phone first came out, the first one, it was a flagship killing spec phone. This one is more of the same. So the unboxing experience is very reminiscent of things we've seen from other Chinese companies. We have a gel case, all the paperwork, some stickers here, and here is the main dish, the POCO X3 Pro. This phone actually has some pretty decent specs, pretty beefy specs, and is led by that Snapdragon 860 processor, the first one ever from my understanding, the first phone out there in the world with the Snapdragon 860 processor. Head over to Sypnotix.com, our website, to read the corresponding article to this video. I do talk a little more in depth about that. We're going to check it out in a bit too later on in the video. 120Hz refresh rate in the 6.67-inch Full HD display. $300 once again for this phone spec. 5,160 milliamp hour battery. That's a huge battery. I'll talk about that at the end. But yes, this phone is shaping up to be quite a beast, and the aesthetic value it adds, it doesn't look like a budget phone. It looks like a flagship phone. It's hefty because of that big ass battery in here, but look at that dual shade, dual tone, I guess, design. It's an all-plastic phone, but it's deceptive. It looks very clean. We'll check out the materials after checking out the rest of the stuff inside the box. Of course, it's the usual suspects. We have our charging brick, and then we also have our USB cable. It should be a A to C cable. So yes, this is indeed a USB A to USB C cable. So checking out the phone here, just look at this back here. So this, once again, is all plastic. Very deceptive, though, because the sides are this kind of like matte plastic. It actually feels really solid. I love the feel of it. It's very smooth, but it feels like a battery bank. Some of those battery banks are really smooth. It feels like what you have that on here on this back. And then on the center, you're separated by the strip. It's a plastic strip. It kind of looks like glass from a distance, and there's a huge POCO logo. And of course, the camera sensors. We'll check that out in 1 second. But yeah, it just looks really nice. The camera sensors also are deceptive. It looks like there's 5 of them, but there's actually only 4 with a flash on the top left. But I do kind of like how they have this camera layout here. On one side, we do have a SIM tray with the micro SD card combination in there. So there is micro SD card support. That's all on that side. That's all there is there. And then on the very bottom, we have a 3.5mm headphone jack, a USB-C port, and one of the loudspeakers. And I like this layout. It's very standard here. And then on the other side, we have a power button embedded with a fingerprint scanner like the Sony Xperia's. And then we also have our volume rockers on the same side. Very clicky, very nice tactile feel. And then there's no physical buttons at the top, but there is a RR blaster at the top. Chinese phones do have that. Let's power this on, though, while we talk a little bit more about what this phone can do. So once again, I keep saying $300 for what it can offer. 6GB of RAM, 128GB of storage, in this Snapdragon 860 processor. Right off the bat, we are greeted with MIUI in all its glory. Whether you like it or not, this is what we have here. POCOs will always use MIUI, and MIUI has evolved a lot. It's become more stock Android-like. Look at this. You swipe to the left, and you have your Google Now cards, and then when you go back to your menu, you swipe down, you swipe up, you have your standard Google movements. We actually have an app drawer. You have an option to have an app drawer now. We never had that with Xiaomi phones in the past, or POCO phones, or anything running MIUI. Now we do. So you swipe down and you get your drop down menus. Even this is more simplified compared to what it used to be. It's more Android that we know and love. So I do appreciate how MIUI has kind of evolved and cleaned itself up. It still has these little flavors, the icons and things like that. Look at the settings menus. This does look like MIUI, but even then, MIUI, it comes with 12.02 as its version, which is a skin on top of Android 11. That's already a win, a big win for a lot of us, because for $300, you're getting the newest Android version. A lot of phones shipping right now in 2021 are still shipping with Android 10. So the fragmentation in Android is bad, but at least this phone comes with Android 11 right off the bat. I don't know about updates. I never really trust basically any brand with updates nowadays, but it does have Android 11, so that's a win automatically. So looking at this phone, I do initially like how clean it looks, how easy it looks to use, and aesthetically, it looks pretty nice. So that's already 2 thumbs up for me in that regard. Of course, Lita's going to review this whole thing. So looking at this phone right now in terms of performance, of course, we won't know the extent of its capabilities until Lita tests it out in her full review after putting it through its paces for weeks. However, the Snapdragon 855 Plus was a updated flagship processor from a couple years ago, and this processor here, the 860, is essentially a repackaged version of that one. So this device here should give you performance that is flagship level from 2 years ago. But when you consider how much you actually do get in performance instead of how much you don't get compared to something like the 865, for $300, this shapes up to be a terrific value for anybody looking for a smartphone in 2021. And that's not even counting the cameras here. So the cameras, we have our 4 sensors, traditional 4 sensors. A lot of people normally get on phones nowadays. You get the wide 48 megapixel f1.8, the 8 megapixel f2.2 ultra wide. Of course, we have the macro lens. That's a 2 megapixel f2.4 and a 2 megapixel f2.4 sensor for depth. And what's really interesting here that I'm quite interested in testing out is that there is a mode where you can dual video record. You can use the front and the back camera to record at the same time. That can make some really interesting content creation. We're going to take a look at this in our full review. Be sure to come back for that, for all our thoughts on the camera. This phone also doesn't have too much bloatware. It has a little bit. All the MIUI tools and MIUI apps and stuff like that are here. And you do have your pre-installed Facebook, your Instagram, and I believe PUBG is also on here. So I guess they want you to test out that refresh rate, even though I don't know if PUBG goes 120 hertz. However, we will test that out. We will play some games on here. Once again, Lita will do all of that. But in terms of bloatware, Xiaomi has dimmed it down a little bit. But if you're coming from stock Android, you're going to realize that there are a lot of extra apps on here. You don't have to use it, of course. Now, with more apps, because you will have your suite of apps once you get this phone set up, it's going to drain the battery. So this 5,160 milliamp hour battery is going to be a godsend, because that's a really hefty battery for a phone of this size. It is a little heavy, but man, look at this thing. This thing is exciting to use. It says we have a lot of time remaining if we turn on the battery saver mode. So if you're in a pinch and you turn on these battery saver modes, I think this battery can last you quite a long time. Of course, you also want to use it on your actual routines, and charging it up to 100% takes 59 minutes, so about an hour. Fast charging up to 33 watts. So hey, look, there's a lot of fun, unique things about this phone that I'm quite interested in, and the beefy specs on a phone of this price makes this thing very intriguing. And if it lives up to what we think it can, based off of the specs, this could be really good value, very good sleeper phone. So once again, I'm Alex from the Sypnotix. Be sure to head over to thesypnotix.com. Follow us on Twitter, Instagram, wherever you follow social media, at Sypnotech for that. Lita, once again, will update you guys with all her photos and things like that while she's using this phone. And we will have our full review very soon. So be sure to come back for that. The other day, my house was leaking. And I was like, oh my gosh, I don't know what to do about this. I'm a tech guy. I only know tech. So how do I fix that? And then you subscribed and you fixed it. So thank you.